Hey Moonfighters, it's Wednesday, it's Sarah, and I've just finished reading Leviathan by why do I keep wanting to say David Levithan? Scott Westerfeld. Getting all my young adult authors mixed up. I just got a huge new amount of young adult books, and I'm kind of getting all the authors flipped around in my head for some reason, because Borders is closing, so I got to get a lot of books, yay. But yeah, I want to make this portion of the video really, really quick, so I'm just going to say I really enjoyed Leviathan. It was the first Scott Westerfeld book that I've ever read, and I've been looking forward to reading it for some time. I definitely would recommend it, and I would definitely want to read the following book. I don't know if there's going to be more than one after this. I don't know. But yeah. It's kind of an alternate history, which I really like. And it was very interesting to see, like, you know how history goes, though you might not if you don't know the history. And just to see where it comes into play and how things work in this universe as opposed to how they work in ours. And yeah. So, last week I recorded a really, really long catch-up video for I think it was like 5 books or something that I read while everything was broken and I couldn't put videos up, and then YouTube wouldn't let me upload, and it wouldn't let me upload over the weekend, and it wouldn't let me upload to Moonfighters, and it wouldn't let me put anything up, and it was just being really obnoxious. So I'm just going to play the intro now, and then after the intro I will put all of that on here. There's gonna be a couple videos for me. So yeah, bye for now. I will answer any questions that aren't in that video next week. I'm not gonna do any questions this week. So okay, 3 of the books that I read while I was absent were, I'll say them in the order that I read them: A Wind in the Door, A Wrinkle in Time, and The Arm of the Starfish, all of which are by Madeleine L'Engle, and all of which are among my very favorite books. So I'm going to talk about them kind of together, not in the order that I read them, because they don't go in that order. Although, I will say, with pretty much all of Madeleine L'Engle's young adult books, they're all companions to each other. So, they're not sequels. Like, you can read A Wind in the Door without reading A Wrinkle in Time, which comes before it. And you can read A Swiftly Tilting Planet if you haven't read A Wind in the Door, which comes in between there. So, you don't have to read them in order. You don't have to have read any of them. You can start them at any point, which is one thing that I really, really like. One of the things that I noticed in reading them all so close together, and then junior year I wrote my term paper for the entire year for English class on Madeleine L'Engle, specifically focusing on A Wrinkle in Time, A Wind in the Door, and Swiftly Tilting Planet. And one of the things that I noticed this time that I didn't notice quite as much before, even when I was doing my research paper that was on the themes of them, was that they kind of have, and I think it was because I didn't read A Swiftly Tilting Planet this time, and I read Arm of the Starfish instead, because A Swiftly Tilting Planet is kind of different. But A Wrinkle in Time and A Wind in the Door, it's focusing on Meg trying to save her younger brother, Charles Wallace, who she loves very dearly, more than anyone else in the entire world. She loves Charles Wallace, and that is how she is able to save him. She is able to save him because she loves him so much. There's another vlogger on YouTube who does book reviews. I always forget the numbers in his username, so I'll just put that here. His name is Matt. I'm pretty sure I have mentioned him on here before. He does really excellent book reviews. He did a review of A Wrinkle in Time, and one of the things that I noticed in there that I, for some reason, never really thought about in the bajillions of times I've read A Wrinkle in Time, that he said was that one of the things that's great about A Wrinkle in Time is that sometimes you don't have to save the world. You just have to save your brother, and that's enough. A Wrinkle in Time, it does have this epic grand scheme. They're going across galaxies, traveling these massive distances, sort of. I mean, they wrinkle, so it's really just like bleep instead of the actual distance. But yeah, so this time I didn't get caught up in all the details. I didn't get caught up in thinking about the 2D planet like Dan had mentioned, which Incidentally, the thing that Dan didn't like about it was one of the things that I most love is that there's all these details that then I get to think about and obsess over and just think, okay, well, what about this? And then go off of all these concepts. And that there's just so many concepts in these books that you can go off of and go into a bajillion directions with, and I love that. But more importantly, I love the theme of the book, and I just love the story overall. And that Meg sets out, not even necessarily by choice, totally, in A Wrinkle in Time. And she really never chooses to do any of the things that she does. She's kind of the most I don't want to say non-angsty because she is angsty. She's a teenage girl. She's extremely insecure. She is very angsty. But she's able to get beyond that. But yet she doesn't want to be a hero. She has no heroic desires in her at all. She's always saying, I don't want to do this. Yet she gets over it and she does it. And I love that. And that even though it's on this epic grand scheme, it always just comes down to, can she save Charles? And you don't get that quite as much with the Swiftly Tilting Planet, so I think I tend to get distracted by that because that's my favorite book, and there are so many other things that I love in there. But you get that she saves Charles Wallace kind of essentially from himself more than from an external force by loving him. Charles Wallace, because he is incredibly genius, like beyond genius. Meg is a genius. Charles Wallace is just far, far beyond her. He has telepathic abilities that just come naturally to him because his brain is just so developed. Like, you know that whole, like, we only use a tiny bit of our brain, and if we used all of our brain, Charles Wallace can use a lot more of his brain than most people can, basically. I mean, it never gets that technically explained, but that's kind of the general idea. In later books, in these two books that I just read, it's basically they just have a very close connection, especially in A Wrinkle in Time. It's just they have a close connection. In A Swiftly Tilting Planet, it's an outright they can communicate telepathically with each other. We see it in the beginning in A Wrinkle in Time that Charles will just have a sense of when Meg is upset and will come down to the kitchen to talk to her late at night when there's a thunderstorm. And I really love that it's about just saving one person through loving them, and that the way you save someone is by loving them, and that the only way that the world can be saved is if we save each other, and if we love each other, basically, is the entire gist of everything. And I don't know why I didn't get this before. It's awesome. But I think what it was is because Arm of the Starfish, which I don't have the others over here, but Arm of the Starfish, this is the cover. I'm going to read the back of the book for you. When Adam Eddington, a gifted marine biology student, makes the acquaintance of blonde and beautiful Callie Cutter at the airport on his way to Portugal to spend the summer working for the renowned scientist Dr. O'Keefe, who is Calvin, if you have read any of the other ones, he has no idea that this seemingly chance meeting is connected to a deadly power struggle between two groups of people. Caught between Callie's seductive wiles and the trusting adoration of Dr. O'Keefe's daughter, Polly, who is Meg's oldest daughter. Yeah, she and Calvin got married. That's really not a spoiler alert. Believe me, it's not. Like, they meet and you're like, they're gonna be together. Like, it just is. It's not about their romance, even though in some ways I love it. I will get back on topic and not talk about everything I love about these books because that's just too much. But earlier for Book Fighters, I read, oh, here it is, An Acceptable Time. This is Polly. This is Polly when she's 12 in this book, right? Yeah. She's 12. I'm pretty sure I'm like 99% positive she's 12. Well, there's details I'd have to get. Caught between Callie's seductive wiles and the trusting adoration of Dr. O'Keefe's daughter Polly, Adam has to make a decision that could affect the entire world. Which side is he on? And when a friend of mine picked up this book, it was just laying on my desk about a year ago, he looks at it and he's like, so, who does he end up with? And I'm like, he doesn't end up with either of them. Oh crap. Need to cut that out, because that's a spoiler alert. Majorly. Friend of mine, this was about a year ago, when I first moved into this apartment. This was just sitting on my desk, and a friend of mine who was staying with me at the time picked it up, and he reads that thing on the back, which isn't accurate. It's not inaccurate. It just doesn't give you the right idea of what this book's about, because you look at the cover, you look at that back, you think it's going to be sort of a love triangle thing where Adam's trying to decide if he wants the love of hot girl Callie or the more wholesome, intelligent Polly. Polly is 12, Adam is 18. There is no romantic connection between them. At least in this book, they have that age difference. In later books, it's kind of unclear exactly, because ages get fuzzy between the Austen and the Murray family, and there was reason for that. Sort of. They run in two different, time works in two different ways between them. Time does not work within the Murray family books the way that time works with us. It's a parallel universe, but they're go-betweens. Yeah. I have spent way too... No, there's no such thing as way too much time. But anyway, Adam basically becomes her older brother that she doesn't have but once. She's the oldest of 7 siblings, and she kind of basically ends up being like their additional mother. Meg is a stay-at-home mother who also assists Calvin in the lab. And while they are good parents, there's 7 kids. So Polly kind of ends up being, she's the oldest, she's really, really intelligent. She's a genius with languages. I forget exactly how many languages she speaks, but she speaks quite a few languages fluently other than English and Portuguese, which she, at the time, lives in Portugal. So, yeah. We kind of have that mirroring there between Meg saving her younger brother and Adam saving his sort of adoptive younger sister, because she gets caught in between this whole power struggle thing. So I think that was what made me notice that this time.